Hello beautiful souls, welcome to my Scorpio season pick a card reading. Very excited to share this reading with you today as we dive into the cards and see what the season is going to be bringing for you, either in a healing or a growth, maybe just a joyful way. So let the magic begin. So welcome to Scorpio season. Whenever I say Scorpio, I always think of that Scorpio, and I can't think where I've got that from. Please let me know. I've tried to Google it and it's not coming up with anything. I don't know if it's a TV show or maybe like a game. I have no idea, but it just plays in my mind whenever I say Scorpio. Anyway, welcome to this season. Scorpio is the ruler of the 8th house. It is the fixed water sign, so it can be a little bit stubborn, a little bit stuck sometimes. And it's all about transformation, which is kind of ironic when I've just said it can be quite stuck. But obviously it depends if you're vibrating at a high or a low frequency when you're tuning into this part of yourself. So don't forget to check where you have this in your astrology chart, or if it's your soul plan, then it may well be that you have a 14 because it brings that real intensity to it. Because Scorpio is a very intense energy. They have this very intense stare when they look at you, and they're definitely somebody who's quite private, verging on secretive sometimes. But that's just because, you know, they like to hold their cards close to their chest, shall we say, and they're very sensitive. I actually often think of Scorpio as a fire sign, even though it isn't, because it has this very fiery quality to it, but it's very, very sensitive. It's very deep, very intense. So if you have this anywhere in your chart, then look at where that is, because that will be obviously highlighted for you this season. I have my Scorpio as my 12th house and as my Pluto, so I didn't come here to mess about, clearly. What was I thinking? Anyway, today we are pulling some cards from the Divine Feminine Oracle by Megan Watterson and our Sacred Self-Care Oracle as well. Funnily enough, some old cards have come back, so there's obviously something that needs to be repeated, maybe even transformed. So I just invite you to close your eyes and just take a moment to take a nice deep breath in and just ask your soul, ask your heart, whatever part of you feel you need to ask, what do I need to know for Scorpio season? What is going to guide me and bring me what I need to navigate this watery season and live my best life? And whenever you're ready, just opening your eyes and either picking from card pile 1, which is on the left, as you know, or card pile 2, which is on the right, and just trusting, because that's what Scorpio does. It trusts in that mystery. So if you chose card pile 1, then you chose Juan Jing. I can't say that as fluidly aloud as I can in my head. I hope I get that right, because I'm pretty sure there's a Formula 1 driver that I like to watch called Zhou Guanyu, so I think that is the right pronunciation. Please tell me if I'm wrong though, so I can correct myself. So it says, the mystic of peace. I am peace. When my mind is clear, the way is clear. Now what I like about this is this card connects to somebody who was a 12th century Taoist poet and mystic. By all intents and purposes, sounds like a very Scorpio or Scorpion person. You know, she's got that real intensity, understands the depths of the human psyche, the soul, right? So this card is really inviting you to really connect with a very clear, centered way of being. Because when we're in that space, when we connect to that space of stillness, that inner clarity, that's when we can have the greatest connection to our soul or our heart or a higher self, whatever you want to believe in, and therefore live a more aligned life. And I like a quote here, which I'm going to read for you from the guidebook. It says, Albert Einstein, which is totally off topic for this divine feminine person, but there we go. Albert Einstein reportedly said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Now I think that's really interesting, and that's why I wanted to share that with you, because that's what this is saying. It's saying, have that clarity. If you're trying to come from the same space that got you into that, you probably won't be able to find the solution. So come outside of that and go around and look at it from another angle. So it's really about having maybe like a bird's eye view or a wider picture perspective. Maybe you've been really honed in on something, you can't see the wood for the trees. This is just inviting you to get that mental clarity so that you can make the decision, or just come from a space that brings you more of that alignment, that centered stillness, so you feel nice and calm. Like I feel super calm with this card. I feel really chilled. Maybe you can pick that up in my energy as you're watching this, and that is definitely what you are being invited to tune into and connect with this Scorpio season. Now maybe that's because you're going through something, and maybe it's a lesson or a pattern that's repeated itself before, and maybe the angle or the path that you've approached it from before hasn't solved it fully. That doesn't mean you failed, it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong, it just means that you're being invited to have a go from another angle, another perspective. Take yourself outside of it, look at it from another angle. For example, I have recently got a bonsai tree, and I know that obviously when you have plants it's great to talk to them. Like, they've done loads of studies, right, about how speaking to them or singing to them can really help them grow. And so I was going in this morning and I was saying, hello beautiful, good morning, how are you, you look amazing. And I realized I can say that to the bonsai tree, but I can't say that to myself at the moment. So I think it's really amazing if you can catch yourself in those moments and think, okay, how can I reframe this, or how can I change this, or how can I come from a different angle that's more loving, more healing, and more centered. Now, what's really interesting, what came through as your self-care card, and I know we've had this before, is look for fairies. And I was really surprised when I saw this. I was like, okay, this does not align at all to what I'm talking about, but then maybe it does, because maybe it's inviting you to come into that space where you connect with your soul, right? And I think having that connection to the mystical or the spiritual or just the extraordinary, right, the not everyday stuff, is really how you can come into a centered space for a lot of people. I think when we're in that mundane, or like I do this everyday routine, you can't see the magic, you can't connect to the magic. So you almost have to take yourself outside of that. Look for fairies, look for the clues that are just lighting up a path for you to really tune into that side of yourself. I feel like the soul is really important for you this month, this season. I think, yeah, there could be some really profound things that come forward for you if you really tune into that. So if you chose Kapao 2, then you chose Saraswati to be your divine goddess, ascended master, or guide for this season. That's what I really feel is coming through here. So she is one of the holy trinities of the Hindu goddesses. She's really connected to that element of, you know, the river goddess, water, healing, cleansing, music. I mean, she's great. And it says here, the goddess of self-knowledge, the essence of who I am flows effortlessly into everything I create. So I feel like there's a bit of creativity coming up here for you this season. And essentially what this card is reminding you of is that if you feel something is blocked, that energy is a bit stagnant, or maybe your creativity feels blocked, then it's just a reminder to really tune back into who you are at your essence, so that you can then go into a state of flow, okay? So it's almost like really tuning into yourself. So it might be that you actually need to spend a bit of time this season, maybe alone, and connecting with yourself more, connecting with the depths of yourself, reminding yourself who you are. So it could be quite a deep, quite intense season for you. Not necessarily scary or difficult, but just, this is not playing in the shallows. This is not, you know, touching the surface. This is really going in. It's an invitation to go within. And I just love that they're talking here about self-knowledge, because obviously your soul, your higher self, knows who you are. This incarnation is just one aspect of yourself, and there are probably thousands of aspects, okay, from all the thousands of lifetimes you've had and the thousands of lifetimes that you will have in your soul's journey, right? So this is just an aspect of yourself, who you are right in this moment. So who are you really is a much deeper question, and it's really about your core essence, who you are right within there. If I was talking about a soul plan, I'd be talking about your soul destiny, like your core quintessence element of yourself. So it's really about connecting to that, like knowing who you are, because when you know who you are, everything becomes aligned and you can just completely work from that space of flow, because you're totally in tune with yourself. I feel like that's quite strong for you this season. And then what came through? Oh, I'm just watching a squirrel run through the garden. And it's ironic that I say that I've just seen a squirrel running through the garden, because what came through as your self-care card is spend time with animals. Again, we've had this self-care card before. There are literally 55 cards in that deck, and these two came up again. I don't know if they came up at the same time before. I never remember what I've pulled. This is obviously an invitation to go back outside. So maybe there's an element of, oh look, the squirrel's back again. You guys can't see that. I don't know why I'm saying, oh look, it's literally sitting with its tail facing me and it's running into the next garden to get some nuts. Anyway, so this is obviously saying that part of who you are, your self-knowledge element, part of who your essence is being in nature, is being with animals. So I think this is a really lovely invitation for you to connect with them. So maybe that's one of your pets, if you've got a pet. If you haven't got a pet, have you got a relative or a loved one with a pet whom you can go and visit? Or maybe it's time to get one, or maybe it's time to just go out and spend time maybe at like an animal sanctuary, or I don't want to say a zoo because obviously that isn't really the most loving or healthy space, is it? But somewhere where you can connect with animals. I mean, I feel nature is important, but this person is literally surrounded by animals. So I think that's something that you need to do, is like surround yourself with that. Because let's think about it, like, what are animals if they are not unconditional love? I'm not saying they don't have other experiences or emotions, but let's talk about dogs. Dogs are just so unconditionally loving. And what is that if not our natural state? So if you need to remind yourself who you are at your core, spending time with an animal who is just giving pure unconditional love is just a reminder of who you are, right? And that feeling that you get from being with a pet or an animal, that pure love that you feel, that is who you are. So that is how you can then turn around and share that with other people, right? You can be that vessel for unconditional love. That doesn't mean you condone bad behavior or you have no boundaries, but it means you radiate unconditional love out of your aura to everybody so they can receive that after you've filled up your cup first. So I feel like this is quite an interesting season for you, and I'd love to hear how it goes for you. Let me know in the comments below, or a lot of you DM me. I would love to know how that pans out for you. Oh, there he is. I don't actually know if it's a male or a female. Digging in our lawn to put his nuts in there. Or her. Look at it. It's loving life. Adorable. So I hope that you've enjoyed this Scorpio season reading, and I will see you in my next video. She's that beautiful. So if you were used to create them. Ugh. I got that horrible metal smell on my hands. Oh, it's my earrings. That's what smells like horrible metal. Ugh. Why do earrings do that? It's gross. Zhou Ruanjing. You chose. Oh, but I look huge in this. Never mind. Yes, let me just check that, because I don't want to get it wrong.